All right, we're back with the Three Dudes of Horror. I'm Toots.
Damien.
Worm Boy. What's up, guys? We're here again.
We weren't here last week. Things just got caught up. We got caught up with stuff, so
Yeah.
we couldn't release a podcast last week. But we're here again, and just like we promised, we're going to talk about the worst sequels and prequels, in our opinion.
This is the yin to last podcast's yang.
Yeah.
And we're gonna try to focus more on movies that we haven't really mentioned in the past.
Yeah, like fresh material.
Yeah, because we've mentioned Jason X and Troll 2, which I was intending to bring up again, but I was like, everyone kind of knows at this point how it is.
How crap.
So we're gonna try to go for different movies. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't seen some of these.
Me too. I'll be honest too.
Yeah. And there are a few that I remember watching when I was younger, but this was back when.
But everything on this list is, if you haven't seen it, you haven't missed out on anything. So
yeah, you don't want to see some of these movies.
There are a couple that I remember quite well, because when you see atrocities like that, like, you don't forget shit like that.
Yeah.
You know.
Like some of the ones on the list we have today are, I think they're just comedies. I was just laughing when I was seeing some.
Yeah, a couple of these, it's almost like when you watch a chicken truck crash into like a clown car. It's just like, it's like you don't forget shit like that.
This is gonna be more like a roast of
yeah, pretty much,
of horrific horror movies.
No, well, because a roast implies that it's something endearing, that you still care for it, but in this case, like, it's more just a tongue lashing.
This is gonna be like a public service announcement, a list of movies that we're gonna be warning you to never subject yourself to.
Yeah, we're gonna be bearing these
unless you have a lot of beer,
Yeah.
or time and
recreational substances.
Yes, I'll keep it like that.
Yeah.
And then I would recommend seeing some. But even though sometimes the beer won't help you as much.
Yeah, like House of the Dead. I know that's not a sequel, but I drank that with vodka, and like that didn't help it at all.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, some of these, good luck with the alcohol. Yeah, it may kill you. The alcohol level may kill you.
So what are we gonna start with?
All right.
Let the countdown begin.
You want to start with Blair Witch 2?
Yeah.
The Book of Shadows?
I remember seeing that in high school, and I remember thinking that it was. I was excited to see it because it was coming off of all the hype of the first movie,
one, yeah.
and it was one of those movies that it was a lot of the studio got involved a lot, like kind of like Spider-Man 3.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the studio forced them to do a lot of reshoots and a lot of additional scenes, and like to try to like amp up the violence and the gore, and the story got all hazy and confusing, and because I think the director that was originally going for like more of a satirical thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because it was right around the time when everybody was finding out that the first Blair Witch it wasn't like authentic footage.
Mm-hmm.
So the director was going for more of like, a satirical, not a horror comedy, but just more of like a
almost like a self-parody.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like, I've only seen bits and pieces of this movie. It was enough that, like, it's like you might as well drink a little bit of poison, like, it's bad. So just like bits and pieces. But that was the impression I got.
And I was really looking forward to this one because part one I enjoyed. And yes, you can judge me. I thought it was real footage, but yeah, then it
did fool quite
I don't know.
a few people.
It fooled me for a few weeks, I admit. But then the part two, I was like, well, let's see what this one's about. And from what I remember, it was just, I was like, what is it? It has nothing to do with part one.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell is it?
That was the impression I got, that it was more self-parody.
Yeah.
That it was just, okay, it's almost like Scream 3, where it's kind of it's winking to the camera. It's kind of making fun of itself a little bit.
Yeah.
And what was the Book of Shadows? There's never.
I don't remember, dude.
There's never a Book of Shadows in the
There
movie.
isn't, right?
No.
I don't remember, man. I don't remember it. I think it was just this lazy, crappy film.
I honestly think the writers just had a bunch of Post-its like on a wall, just throwing darts and okay, let's see what we can get into this movie.
Well, I want to see like the director's cut, like his original vision or whatever. Like, but I don't think it exists. So,
because he probably burned it.
He probably killed himself watching.
So,
oh, no, I'm just joking. I don't know if he's still alive.
Yeah. So as far as horrific sequels, that's a great start. Blair Witch 2: Book of Shadows, which wasn't found footage, like the first one.
Yeah, you threw us into the proverbial pool of shit, like in the deep end.
To start out.
So now we're soaking wet and we're
in sewage. In cinema sewage. And then the next one, Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation.
Part 4 in the series, which was basically just, I don't even think they were going to release it. They released it like 2 or 3 years after they filmed it, because they were waiting for because Matthew McConaughey and Renee Zellweger come out in the movie, but when they shot it, they weren't like big movie stars yet.
Yeah,
so they waited till like their huge movies in the 90s came out, and then they released it, and it's a really terrible movie. Like, I saw it like when I was like 14 or 15, and even at that age I was like, what is this? Like, it's just really bad. It's like the acting's terrible, the story's terrible, like there's nothing good about it. Like,
yeah, because I remember I've seen this one, but like I said, maybe some of my memory's blocking it out. But I want to say it came out like 96, something like that.
Yeah, but it was like filmed like more in the early 90s, like 93, 94.
Yeah, because I remember Time to Kill came out like around 94, 93, 94, and then McConaughey hit it big, and then I remember going to like Hollywood Video or one of those places or Blockbuster and like, oh, okay, like, oh, The Next Generation, that's cool. And it has Matthew McConaughey.
It must be good.
So
exactly.
They basically just released it like banking on the fact that 2 now quote unquote movie stars were in the movie. So, but the movie is terrible. Like, there's nothing that's worth watching the movie. Like,
it's almost like if you ever see the cover to the DVD of like Leprechaun, where you see Jennifer Aniston on the cover, like, well, she's the biggest star in there.
Yeah.
So they're kind of banking off of that, and that one tricked me.
Yeah, this is basically the same exact thing.
Yeah, that one. Like I said, I think my mind is trying to suppress or repress a few of the memories.
Did we actually write in our notes for Underworld 4
waste of a movie?
Waste of a movie.
I wrote that
That's
down.
awesome.
I mean, the first one, of course, I think is good, but then the second one even. But
another part 4.
Part 4, I think it was just a waste of a movie. There's no reason for it.
Well, it seemed like they were forcing a story, like to keep the whole story going with Selena, and then like Scott Speedman didn't even come out in the movie, and they were having to use like little short like images of like his silhouette and shit to like find a way to put him in the movie.
Yeah, I think the biggest crime with this movie, because
it has the weakest story of all of them.
Yeah. I think in terms of, I mean, I haven't seen part 3. I haven't seen what was it, Return of the Lycans or whatever.
Rise of the Lycans.
Or Rise of the Lycans, yeah.
Which was a prequel.
Yeah, and what was the latest one? Blood Wars.
Blood Wars.
I haven't seen that one. But I remember seeing the first 2 and then part 4. But I think the biggest crime against this movie is not so much the fact that it was terrible, it was more the fact that it was forgettable.
Yeah.
It was just, I remember going into the theater and I'm like, it's okay. And then walking out and I pretty much forgot what happened during the movie.
Well, all I remember about the movie is there's this gigantic lichen that's like 5 times the size of a human being. that can like regenerate really
and he keeps
fast.
on coming back, right?
He regenerates like really fast, like Wolverine.
I remember.
And then
that
she figures out a way to kill him is to like stab him and like put a grenade inside of him, and then he heals around the grenade and it blows up inside of him. Like I don't know, it's not good.
I
not
just
good.
remember they had to go into like this cool looking building, and that's really the only thing I remember. Is that they're in this cool looking building,
which is where the grenade scene happens.
Yeah.
And like Scott Speedman's not in the movie, Bill Nye's not in the movie. What's his name? Michael Sheen.
Yeah.
He's not in the movie. It's like they just got the biggest star, Kate Beckinsale of that franchise, and they just forced a plot line around her character to make part 4, and it just
to make money.
Yeah. It seemed. This was my impression of that. Everyone went in there just to get a paycheck, and that was pretty much it. Like,
exactly. Yeah. And I give it a raspberry.
All right, so
we can jump back a little to more of a classic, Poltergeist 3.
Yeah. This one is one of those where I remember they were trying to bring the preacher back.
Yeah, and they recast him, and it was a dude with like a shitload of makeup to try to make him look like Preacher Cain from Part 2.
Mm-hmm. No, that original Preacher Cain was creepy as fuck.
But he played someone else now in that one.
Who?
The preacher?
The original actor?
Yeah.
No, I think he was dead by then.
Yeah.
Oh, he was dead?
He had passed away, and they had to... It's still Preacher Cain in Part 3, but they
it's
had
someone
to...
else?
Yeah.
They had to recast him, and then it's just a dude that they made up a
Oh,
lot
that's right.
to try to make him look like Preacher Cain from Part 2.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like you said, dude, that guy still scares me. Like, now. If I watch that movie right now, Preacher Cain from Part 2 still freaks me out.
Yeah, when he does like that smile, it looks like he has like 16 more teeth than like the average human.
Yeah. And the song he sings. Well, anyway, but Part 3 was just like, and I know, like I don't, like this is something that nobody could control. But when they were shooting Part 3, Heather O'Rourke was getting sick already.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
which sucks.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, like you can tell, like her face is really puffy, and I don't know.
It is a shame, and
I mean, she rests in peace. I mean, she was really young when she passed away.
It's one of those. Yeah, this movie is almost kind of like, I don't want to compare it to The Crow directly, but it's almost like the circumstances behind it too. Almost kind of like turns you off from the movie.
Yeah.
It's like, but and kind of like with me and The Crow. To me, it's a classic. It's a great movie.
Right.
But the circumstances behind it with Brandon Lee dying and like it, to me,
I think that's why it was.
To me, it's a lot sadder than it really is in terms of the movie itself.
Yeah.
But just the circumstances behind it,
But like, yeah, that's a good point. And like I was saying about Underworld 4, it's the same concept with Poltergeist 3, where it seems like they're trying to force a story to like keep the whole storyline going. Like nobody from any of the other movies comes out except Heather O'Rourke, and then they write a story where she's going and staying with her uncle, like in this like diehard high rise.
Was it Tom Skerritt? Yeah, Tom Skerritt and Nancy Allen, because I remember watching the movie. I'm like, hey,
but it's one of those
Lewis
things.
From RoboCop.
That was the best part of that movie.
But it's one of those things where it's like it's so clear that like they couldn't get the actors back, and they were like, well, let's just try to get some other big names and just force the story.
Yeah.
And so we can make a Part 3 to make some bank off the franchise. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because the only thing I remember from this movie is just Preacher Cain starts attacking Tom Skerritt and Nancy Allen's characters in the elevator. That's really the only part I remember.
Well, I mean, there's like a poltergeist that like starts taking over the entire building, but it's just, I don't know, it's not.
Yeah, essentially like Gozer, but not as cool.
Yeah. Part 1 and 2 are great.
Yeah.
Part 3 is where there was just a
Part 3
nosedive.
should be a remake.
Well, they do have the remake, but that's for another episode.
And then speaking of the sequel in a franchise, is this one, I think I've briefly mentioned it before, was Paranormal Activity, the Ghost Dimension. Which I was waiting forever for this movie to come out, and I was like, no, I mean, Paranormal Activity is a guilty pleasure of mine. I was a big fan of the series. Like, I know it's like cheesy.
Well,
cheesy.
I like the first few.
I like the first couple. Like, I remember seeing maybe up to part 3 or 4. What part is Ghost Dimension?
The very last
it's 5,
one.
no?
It's part 6 in the franchise.
Yeah, I think I got up to maybe like 4, when the main character was the girl and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, the big thing that they were hyping was in this movie, you were finally gonna see the activity. Like, you weren't just like, you were gonna see the demons. You were gonna see all the paranormal activity, like from their perspective, you know. And it's like I said, it's the same thing like the other movies we've been talking about. Like, the only actors or actresses, I should say, that they could get were like the 2 younger versions of the sisters.
Yeah.
And they couldn't get anybody else from the previous films in the franchise. So they were just really trying to like force a plot line with like all these new characters that were just bland, like were not interesting at all. And it's just like, it was a big letdown.
That sucks.
Yeah, like
you sound very disappointed.
No, because I was looking forward to it for a long time because I really liked the marked ones. Like, even though that one didn't even get.
It's like, hey, these past ones were alright, but hey, this one's.
What was the name of the 4th one?
They fuck you up.
What was the name of the 4th one?
It's just Paranormal Activity 4.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess that was the last one I saw. Because I remember seeing.
Which that one's tolerable. It's not great, but it's. I mean,
that's the one where you see like the cult, like at the end or something like that. Like, yeah, that's the one I saw.
And the Ghost Dimension, it just all went to shit. It was like they were. I mean, I think this is gonna be a recurring.
Hey, maybe we can watch this one.
We should. Yeah, we should.
We did the House of the Dead, and now it's your turn, David.
Nah.
Or Toots.
Oh no! Like, a couple of these, the ones that I'm gonna bring up later, are much worse than that.
I'm just like, nah.
You may like unfriend me like after if you were to see those. That's how bad they are.
Oh, okay. Oh, and then we can talk about. I'll mention Carrie 2, The Rage, just real quick. I've only seen it once in my life. I remember seeing it in high school, and it's essentially like just it's a rehash. It's almost the exact same story of part 1, but just in the 90s. And it's like she turns out to be like Carrie's distant cousin or some shit. Like, and it's the same thing. She gets harassed by bullies, by the popular kids, and then she
falls in love.
Yeah, she discovers that she's telekinetic, and then she actually actually puts out to one of them, and then like they screw her over and embarrass her, and then instead of at the prom, it's at a house party that she starts killing everybody and like drowns a bunch of them in the pool or something. I don't know.
Was the mother like a fanatic also?
I can't remember, but it's just not a good. It's not a good sequel. It's just a cash grab.
It's another one like cash. They want
cash
money.
grab.
They want money.
Yeah, because I haven't seen that. I saw the remake with Chloe Grace Moretz, and
that one's okay.
That one's alright. I mean, the original is always gonna be the best one.
Well, but I mean, it's basically the original, but instead of like, the only difference is like they have a viral video of her like in the infamous period scene. Like, that's really the only difference. Like, it's basically the same movie other than that.
Yeah, and then I don't want to get into the remake. That's another another episode right there.
Episode.
But
well.
You need to talk about that one.
Yeah, we got to yours.
It's certainly not my favorite.
Oh, you always talking about that one.
No, well, right. You got the mic though.
All right, so this one. Well, I don't think there are any words. Oh no, I don't need the script because I remember this shit.
No, well, you got to tell them what movie you're talking about.
Yeah. No, it's essentially. Oh, I'm sorry, in notes. Essentially, it's Creepshow 3, and to me, the biggest crime for that, other than the fact that it is a shitty movie. It's a really shitty movie, but and even then, shitty it does not. I don't feel the word is strong enough to describe my feelings toward this movie. Because I love Part 1. To me, Part 1 is a classic. It was so well done by George Romero and Stephen King. I just loved everything about it. Part 2 was still very good. I still enjoyed it. It wasn't as good as the first one, but I still liked it. To me, it's it's still a classic. I would consider.
Did John Landis produce Part 1, or have a hand in producing Part 1?
I don't think so. He might have, but I don't think so.
Well, anyway, but we're focusing on Part 3 here.
All right. So yeah, Creepshow 3.
Try to tell us briefly what is shitty about it.
Okay. Where do I start? All right. Well, first of all, the stories. If I remember correctly, there was something like 5 stories, and I was looking forward to these stories, but none of them were scary. Yeah, none of them were scary. I think the first one was about like a remote control, like a special remote control, because there's like an inventor in the neighborhood. And the thing with that they kind of fucked up in this movie as opposed to the original is that in the original there's one little thing that is kind of in every episode, but it's very, very, very subtle. Yeah. And that's the ashtray that's used to kill the father in Father's Day. It actually does come out in at least the other stories, But it's very subtle things like that. In this one, it kind of bashes you over the head with this character also came out here, and then it's coming out there, and they're almost indirectly related, all the stories. I remember there was another story about like this vampire, like this hooker that tries to pick up Johns and then kills them. And I'm like, how the fuck do the police not already know about her? And then one of them happens to be a vampire, and then like
in the daylight.
I don't
Probably.
know. It was during the night. But like the effects weren't that great. The practical effects weren't that great, and the CG was too CG.
Correct.
Like, yeah. The one story that I actually tolerated because it was so stupid that it actually made me laugh was that this inventor in the neighborhood invented, like, he was very good at inventing robots, like essentially cyborgs, like lifelike, like they almost look human. And he meets his wife, and long story short, he invites a couple of his grad students. They believe that she's a robot, like so lifelike, but it actually was a human, and they essentially kill her and like pull her apart, and they're like, wow, everything's so lifelike, like these organs.
Oh god.
But like I said, it is so shitty, and even then, and they don't do the transitions well. It's so crappy. Like I said, I could just go, like, this is an entire episode for me if I were to bitch about this movie. That's how bad it is. And like I said, it's one of those where if I were to show you guys, you'd be like, get out of my house.
Well, maybe we'll give you a solo episode one day.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Yeah, no, 3. I think everybody be like...
Yeah, we'll give you a solo episode while you're watching Creepshow 3. And then you
just... Oh, in real time?
Yeah,
do an audio commentary.
You'll be like, oh, this is the part where, fuck.
Yeah, I think it's best to actually have a video of like my reactions.
Yeah, we can make that happen.
But yeah, moving on. It's just so many scars.
The next one, I think, Children of the Corn. That one to me was... It started off creepy to me,
The first movie has creepy elements, but like...
It's still a bit hokey.
Yeah.
But then it was just like...
Every sequel is lame.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just going to say, well, actually, I haven't seen the latest one that just came out like 5 years ago or something like that.
How many sequels
are
there? There's like 30.
There's a lot.
There's a lot. I remember because my mom would show these to me, and she's like, "If you don't behave, you're gonna turn into one of them kids." And I was like, no, I'm not.
You should have been like, where I get to kill the adults? Really?
This movie sucks.
Well, part 1's like a guilty pleasure of mine. Like, yeah, I own the Blu-ray, and it's considered like a classic. And there are actually there's creepy moments in the movie, and it has like a creepy vibe.
And even Malachi and Isaac are creepy as hell.
Yeah, there's like the isolation and all that. Like it's a good horror movie in my opinion. I'm just gonna say it. Like, but all the sequels are just atrocious. Like all of them. So we're not gonna try to
go over.
It's
too many.
They're all crappy.
I really haven't seen the sequel.
There's actually one. I think it's part 3 or 4 where a really young Ava Mendes comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Arr. Arr. And she has to start somewhere. No, and she like sacrifices herself to like the corn god or something. I don't know. Oh fuck.
Sounds horrible.
Moving on.
Yeah.
I'm like, moving on. Blade Trinity.
This one didn't bother me as much.
I don't think
it was alright.
I don't think Blade Trinity is terrible, but compared to Guillermo del Toro's part 2.
Blade, yeah.
And then the first one was a classic. I just think there was a drop off when they got to the third one. Like the story.
I think they tried to shovel too many.
And then Blade doesn't really come out that much. It's more like Ryan Reynolds comes out more.
Yeah, Hannibal King.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I like him, but I mean,
yeah,
it's supposed to be about Blade, you know.
If you ever have time, go to YouTube and look up some interviews with Patton Oswalt, like because he came out in this movie.
Yeah,
and he just talks about how fucking batshit crazy Wesley Snipes was.
Why?
Yeah, just because he was all method, and he's like, don't refer to me as Wesley, like refer to me as Blade, and
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I actually didn't know that.
I didn't know this until a couple of weeks ago. Like I just stumbled onto.
But like Triple H sprinting with like his arms are like as big as trees.
Yeah,
and they obviously sped up the footage, so he's running like. And it looks funny, like it's not. I don't know. It's bad. And then that annoying chick from Dazed and Confused. What's her name?
Parker Posey. Yeah, she kind of hammed it up quite a bit. Yeah. And
then Ryan Reynolds went a little overboard with the one-liners and stuff. But I mean, that's him. So.
Yeah, it was just...
That's why Deadpool was perfect for him, because he's supposed to do one-liners. But in that movie, when he's Hannibal King, it's like you said, it's supposed to be about Blade.
Yeah, and you know what I mean? It should have just been called something else.
Yeah, and then
like Dracula comes back. They went for that cliche. Like
and then I did like the fact that he could shapeshift. You know, he can like morph himself into other people. That was the only thing I actually did kind of like. And I remember I was like, all right, this guy's not bad. And then, but once he killed that cute goth girl in the store, I'm like, fuck this guy. Like that.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so moving on.
Oh, the Lost Boys sequels. Because the first Lost Boys is an 80s classic. The movie was like culturally impactful. Like the music, the fashion, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. The lingo.
Yeah.
And like the part 2 is basically like what I've said before about other sequels we talked about on this podcast, like where they're essentially trying to recreate the same story. Like, and even the main vampire is Angus Sutherland, which is Kiefer Sutherland's younger brother.
Yeah. And
it's one of those sequels where, like we've said before, where Tom Savini comes out at the very beginning of the movie and dies.
Oh, he pulls
almost
off,
like he
pulls the Children of the Living Dead.
Yeah, he comes out and he's a vampire, and they kill him so they can have his house, and they kill him like within the first 5 minutes of the movie.
How many sequels?
And then there's one more. Part 2, I think, is called The Tribe, and then Part 3, I think, is called The Thirst. And then, like, even in Part 2, like, Corey Feldman comes back as Edgar Frog.
Oh, I don't remember his name.
Well, anyway, and they were relying too much on, like, his, like, over-the-top badass attitude and one-liners, and he's, like, trying really hard, like, and then in Part 3, it's where they focus on like his brother, the other frog brother's a vampire, and he's trying to save him. I don't know. They're bad.
Yeah,
like they're not good. Like,
sounds horrible.
They're straight to DVD also.
Oh yeah.
Well, that explains everything.
Yeah. So moving on.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'll take a lead on this one.
Yeah, you'll take point on this one.
The Leprechaun.
Sequels.
What do we need to say?
Well, yeah, there's not much to say. I mean,
was Part 2 the one in Vegas?
I don't know.
No, it's part 3.
Part 3? Which one was part 2?
I can't remember.
I
That's the
don't
one.
remember.
Isn't part 2's the one where he makes the teenage boys see the tits and the lawnmower blades? And he's like, oh look.
I need to see part 2 again.
Yeah, these three are just comedies to me. They're not horror. I mean, like especially the one in space. I think part 4.
And don't forget In the Hood.
Oh yeah, In the Hood's that one's fucked up.
With Ice-T. Ice-T, what are you doing?
Yeah,
you're on Law and Order SVU.
The infamous space gimmick.
I mean, it's really hard to convince me. Like, oh, I'm scared of a fucking leprechaun. You know, like convince me. No, it didn't work.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I can't really say much. I mean, they're horrible.
I remember the Vegas one. I didn't think it was that bad. It's not a good movie. Don't judge me. It's not a good movie.
I'm not saying that.
By no means is it a
that
good
the one
movie.
where the magic show he actually
cuts the guy in half. Yeah.
And they split open the box and you see all the guts and it.
Yeah, like it's shit like
and
that.
And the chick gets isn't she like he grants her a wish that she's all hot now, but then like her ass and tits start getting way huge, like bigger and bigger and bigger, and then she like explodes or something.
Something like that. Like it's shit like that where it's like it's so
like all
awful,
of a sudden,
but it's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden he's an evil genie of a lamp, but he's a leprechaun. I don't know.
And the main character like is slowly turning into like a leprechaun too because he just eats potatoes and starts talking with an Irish accent.
But
a bad Irish accent.
Wormboy, what can you recall something dumb about the leprechaun in the hood?
I guess when they were smoking recreational drugs.
The reefer, yeah.
Marijuana.
Ice-T, of course, comes out and he starts to smoke and he's like, oh, he says something to the effect like, oh, this is good stuff, and he starts to laugh, like, but he laughs so horrible. And I was just like, it's horrible. You need to see it.
It's like Smokey from Friday might as well show up.
I think
they have nothing to lose.
No, Friday's. I like Friday, but this one was just horrible.
I think if I were to have my own solo episode with Creepshow 3, I think you got to do it with at least In the Hood. Leprechaun in the Hood. Yeah. And just have the video like on you, like just watching your reactions.
I'll probably just be drunk.
No, you gotta watch it sober.
Oh, that's not fair.
Yeah, it's not fair at all.
Oh, Queen of the Damned is next.
This one I haven't seen. I still haven't seen this.
Don't bother. It's because Interview with the Vampire was like directed by Neil Jordan, and such a great movie, man. And a lot from the novel is kept out, but like all the main themes and everything are still there and explored.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to Queen of the Damned, and it's like they trade Tom Cruise, who I thought did Lestat really well.
Yeah.
Except the subtracting the French accent, all of a sudden he's not French anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, he did it really well. And then it was like in this one, it's that Stuart Townsend guy, and he's just I don't know. He's not on the same level as an actor.
Yeah.
And it's I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't seen this one.
Don't bother. Like it's the best. I can sum it up real simple. It's one of those movies where the soundtrack is way better than the actual movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like Jonathan Davis, like was like supervising the whole soundtrack or something. And
yeah.
He does Lestat's voice and all the songs in the movie and most on the soundtrack. Like, and the soundtrack's full of a bunch of kick-ass songs, but like that's all the substance of the movie. Like the movie itself is just like, like they were trying to put. Like they didn't find that same balance like Neil Jordan did with Interview with the Vampire. Like they were trying to put way too much crap into one movie and make it seem like all epic and spanning centuries, and it didn't work. Like
I bet you anything, and I can imagine this, that if they were to make that movie today, let's say it never occurred back in like 2000, 2001. Let's say they make it today. I can picture like Rihanna like playing the Queen of the
yeah.
Damned, like playing that character.
And rest
And
in
it'll be
peace.
shit.
Yeah,
Rest in peace, Aaliyah. But the way that they were making her walk in that movie, like they were making her do this really bad walk, like the Enchantress in Suicide Squad, how she was like hula dancing or hula hooping the whole time.
Yeah,
It was like that. It was like who would do that?
yeah.
But anyway,
Like who walks like that? Like
Yeah.
drunk people walk like that. All right, so moving on, the Resident Evil sequels. Now this one,
I've seen up to part 3.
I've seen up to part.
And beyond that, I've seen bits and pieces, and none of them past that could keep my attention longer than like 15 minutes.
Let's see, which is the one? I'm trying to think. How many sequels are there? Like thus far, isn't there like 6?
There's 5 or 6.
There's 6. I think I got up to maybe like 5. I want to say 4 or 5.
Yeah, I
Something
think
like
I
that.
gave up after 3 or 4.
Because I remember 3 was in the desert.
Yeah.
And then 4, like, they just kind of forgot the whole thing, and now everything was like back to normal.
4 was
Well, normal in terms of that universe.
part 3 was like where they were in that convoy and they go to Vegas and it's all like apocalypse desert, like
It's all Road Warrior and Mad Max. Yeah, and the thing for me, the thing with these movies, yes, the sequels are so terrible, but they're unintentional comedies. Like especially, I want to say 4 or 5. There's one where these zombies are coming after Alice, and then she's like jumping off the building, like while holding a rope,
and
and
it's
this
like
and that.
way over the top.
Yeah, and then
Like-
she's loading up quarters like in this shotgun, and I'm like, you realize shotguns don't work like that, right? You know.
And then they got to the 3D gimmick eventually.
And then like this basketball guy like manages to catch a plane, like he jumps and like catches like the tail of the plane and like make sure he holds it down and shit like that.
Well, the good thing is that from that they're gonna reboot it, and James Wan is supposed to be the one that's gonna
If it's him,
direct them.
if it's
So-
James Wan directing, I will give the reboot a shot because that guy's a horror director badass.
So
Yeah.
at least maybe we'll get to see some good ones.
He made a movie about a ventriloquist dummy, a badass horror movie. So scary.
Yeah, and but to me the sequels, like I said, like normally I should be like very offended in terms of being a zombie fan, but at the same time it's just like these are so stupid they're hilarious almost, where you just don't take them seriously. Like I can actually kind of bypass the bullshit.
Yeah, like the only reason I saw him was because I was like, oh, might as well watch them.
Like these
know?
are the types of movies you have fun riffing like at a party. Like at a Halloween party, you're just watching shitty horror movies and you're just riffing through it.
That's where these movies exist.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So moving on. So the Ring sequels. Isn't there only one sequel? Or
Well,
There's
now there's
two.
2, but part 2 was completely atrocious. I've seen like half of that new Rings movie,
I saw the new one. It was alright. I
but it
mean,
doesn't make a lot of sense though, does it?
no, it doesn't. It's kind of like the same thing, except for now it takes place like with our new technology, like social media, and you watch it on this
Just
email.
like we were saying about the Carrie remake.
Pretty much, and it's like you're just trying to make money, and I thought it was maybe a D.
like mediocre. So
Yeah, it was alright. It wasn't something different, but it
Yeah.
was just a rehash, pretty much. Mm.
And Toots, can you remember anything about The Exorcist 2?
barely anything. Like I saw that I only saw it one time, and that was back when VHS was still king.
I know that it took a while for them to even get Linda Blair to agree to do the movie because she thought the script was so bad.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I just remember bits and pieces, like you see what happened to the old priest, the one played by Max von Sydow. Like you see, like she was actually like crushing his heart or like messing with his heart, and that's why he died. And I think at some point at the end, she was seducing the priest, like the young priest. Like I guess they were kind of revisiting what happened from the first one. Like,
Yeah.
but like I said, it was just to me it was just like
It's not worth it. It's atrocious.
Part 3 wasn't bad. Part 3 was actually pretty good.
That's what
Yeah. Part 2, no.
Oh, and I want to mention real quick that I think Bride of Chucky, if that's the one, because I know there's a bunch of Child's Play sequels, but if that's the one where Britney Spears came out and they were having to resort to that gimmick, and it's just way over the top with like the cheesy comedy, and I know like they show like little plastic or rubber dolls actually having sex.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
Yeah, the Chucky movies have always been, except for the first one, of course, but the sequels to me have always been, like I said in the other ones, they're just comedy to me. I mean, Chucky to me is really funny.
I remember
the stuff that comes out is just so hilarious. I can't take it seriously.
But after a while, it was meant to be, you know.
Yeah, after a while, they just made it.
It was just cheesy and just makes fun of itself.
But Bride of Chucky was where they just took it too far. Where it was like, okay, this is not even fun horror comedy anymore. It's just dumb. Like,
yeah, is that the one where John Waters comes out in that one too?
I think so.
Yeah.
And then they redeemed the franchise with Seed of Chucky.
Well, was that even Britney Spears, or was that like just or was that like an actual? That's like a knockoff.
No, it's Britney Spears.
Or which one? Which one's the new one? The Curse of
Chucky.
Okay, that one, not Seed of Chucky. Curse of Chucky. They somewhat like redeemed.
Yeah, Seed of Chucky is the one with the boy.
Yeah, the little
The boy looks creepy to me, but that's a whole nother.
All right, so
I guess we'll leave it up to you to do the last one.
Yeah, the big finale.
So I haven't seen that one.
All right, so this one I know I'm the only one that's seen this in terms of this group, and it's actually from the makers of Creepshow 3, and it's Day of the Dead 2 Contagium. And just to be clear, there is a remake of Day of the Dead with Ving Rhames and Mina Suvari and
we've talked about it before.
Yeah, and what's it, Nick Cannon?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that one was pretty bad. You know, I could at least kind of tolerate that one. At least I kind of knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
It was still a bit shit. It was still the drizzling shit, but nowhere as near as this one. Because they started introducing supernatural crap, and it was like, oh, they find no, I'm serious. They find like this canister that's supposed to have like the virus or whatever it is, and this virus like glows in the dark and is very bright and shiny and affects people, and when they're zombies, they still talk. They're just like they're like, what's wrong with me? I'm very hungry now. And it's like, well, you're dead. Like you're cold. You know, shit like that. And I was just like, oh my god. You know, and the thing is, I didn't realize these guys were the makers of Creepshow 3. Because I think I saw Creepshow 3 afterwards. And I was just in love with the fact that they made a part 3. I was like, oh shit. Until I saw it. And then I realized, oh, it's the same guys. What the hell? You know?
We were like, well, that makes sense now.
Yeah, I was like, that makes sense now. And it's another movie where we're like not even riffing it will do it justice. You know, like if I were to show you guys, like, yeah, you'll kick me out of the house. Like what's his name? DJ Jazzy Jeff. You know. Yeah.
Like, no, that's okay. We'll take your word for it. That it's crap.
Yeah, I'm not gonna see that. I'm not gonna waste my time on that.
Well, hey, but to wrap things up for this episode, I will say that I am super psyched because next Friday, a week from tonight, finally the new remake of the first one in the Universal, the Universal Dark Universe that they're calling it. The Mummy is finally gonna come out. I'm super psyched about it, man. I really hope it doesn't let me down. Like, I've been looking forward to it forever.
Yeah, we'll do a review on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know with this
well,
episode,
if it does well, it's supposed to be the first of many. They're remaking the entire Universal Monsters series.
Yeah,
so,
and yeah, I'm looking forward to that one next week, and we'll do a review of that. But like I was saying, like I'm sure some people were like, well, where's Jason X and But we've already talked about some of the sequels.
we are talking about those.
We try to, like I said, we try to go for like the lesser known.
Yeah.
You know, even though some of them just kind of.
And I know there's a whole boatload of shitty sequels
there's a plethora
and prequels,
of,
but we chose these because most of these don't see the light.
Yeah.
So if you happen to have a friend that's like, hey, let's watch the Blair Witch 2 or
disown them.
Let's watch the
Disown.
Yeah, don't trust them anymore and just unfriend them.
Especially if it's Creepshow 3 or Day of the Dead 2. Yeah, disown them at that point.
Well, it's like terrible horror movie sequels are a dime a dozen. Like there's I'm probably not exaggerating. There's probably thousands of them in existence.
At least some of them are like unintentional comedies to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But anyway, like next week, The Mummy, baby. Like I'm psyched about it. I can't wait. So we're gonna go ahead and sign off. So it's the Three Dudes of Horror. It's Damien.
I'm Toots.
Wormboy. And don't forget to give us a like on Facebook. We have a page and also on YouTube.
Yeah.
So
please subscribe. Fuck Creepshow 3, man.